How do you get high speed wireless connectivity in the middle of the ocean? We'll find out on this episode of the Backhaul Lounge. Hi, welcome to Ceragon's Backhaul Lounge. I'm Jeremy Ladner, and today we're speaking with Gordon Murray, head of sales at Ceragon Kinetics, about the challenges of delivering offshore wireless network connectivity across 100 kilometers or more of open sea. Gordon, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Jeremy.
So, before we dive into the distance question, for those that are not familiar with Ceragon Kinetics, Gordon's unit specializes in stabilized connectivity, typically offshore for networks that have one or more links that are physically in motion. Just imagine the massive waves, the pitch, the yaw, the roll. Gordon, am I getting that right?
That's right, Jeremy. If we've got one side or both sides of the links, which is has movement due to the offshore vessel or the offshore asset being a floating platform, then we can stabilize that, right? So we give the high reliability of Ceragon's multi-core radios combined with our stabilized point link platform, which means that ultimately they get the high throughput, low latency benefits offshore that we can deliver onshore. So it's that fantastic reliability they're going to get both onshore and offshore.
All right, so let's talk about the high throughput and low latency in a minute. But first, let's deal with the distance question. Do customers even know that microwave is an option for them for 100-kilometer plus offshore connectivity?
Well, let's just say many customers are pleasantly surprised when they hear that we can deliver the levels of bandwidth at that level of distance, right? So we've delivered solutions more than 175 kilometers. It's the world's longest link to an offshore oil field off the coast of Brazil. We've also got the world's longest offshore link to an FPSO, so that's a floating and rotating FPSO, more than 120 kilometers offshore. And the benefits that they can get by having high throughput, low latency, as far as they are from the beach, is massive to their operation, right?
So when you compare that to some other technologies that are available, obviously people are going to have satellite and fiber top of mind. I know the idea of laying fiber for 100 kilometers or more is going to be terribly time consuming, not to mention expensive. And satellite obviously has some limitations in terms of latency. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's many technologies out there, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned the issue with the cost, right? So obviously a wireless link, quicker to deploy, lower cost to deploy. However, also with regards to satellite, the challenges of satellite is always going to be the latency side of things. So we don't necessarily see ourselves as always competing with these technologies, often complementing some of those technologies. Yes, we can provide the lowest latency possible, we can provide the highest throughput, but we also look to where the backhaul is fiber or the backhaul is satellite. We can provide overlay technologies to allow them to distribute that wirelessly either to another asset or to assets close by, such as vessels or other drilling rigs and so on and so forth. So yeah, we certainly have a fantastic technology. It's the lowest latency you're going to get, some of the highest throughputs possible. But yeah, we look to work in hybrid with many of these solutions also.
That was very diplomatic and very well put. I love it, Gordon. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about the numbers. I know they're going to vary depending on the exact distances, of course, but generally speaking, what can customers expect in terms of bandwidth and latency?
So in terms of bandwidth, it's not uncommon for us to be delivering 200 to 300 megabits per second, which again is pretty much unmatched, for any other wireless technology that's available. So the benefits are, 200 to 300 megabits per second, offshore, low latency. It's a huge, huge operational benefit for the digital transformation technologies that they're looking to deploy. In some cases, or we can even go up to 1 gigabit per second, which, if you can consider, the demands that are being put on the operation, not just from a operational expectation side of things, but also the crew side of things, it's huge, right? It's a huge, huge operational benefit to them when you can deliver several hundred megabits up to 1 gigabit per second offshore.
Right. You mentioned the crew there, and there's a lot of people, of course, who are working offshore for several weeks at a time, long, long shifts, far from home. And this is their only connection with family and friends. Clearly, that connectivity is very important to the crew's health and well-being. Another massive benefit to having high throughput, low latency network are all of the new real-time video applications that have a major impact on operational efficiency and safety. Can you talk a little bit about that? What are the most common ways your customers are using the speed in terms of applications?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things is the remote operation. So that's maybe taking remotely operated vehicles or things that would have often been done at the edge, and how they can then distribute that back to the real-time operating center, or the resource and the skills that may not be out there at that point in time, so that they can become more operationally efficient. So that requires reliability. It requires a foundation and a backhaul, which they can then deploy these, fantastic technologies. So whether it's using it for remotely operated vehicles, real-time video applications, CCTV, smart CCTV, that combined with many of the applications, Jeremy, that we're now used to more and more, right, in the office, which is Microsoft Teams, Zoom, various other web platforms. What they're really looking for is how do they make that FPSO or the asset offshore almost act like a remote office, right, and have the same capabilities and application. And that requires solid, high bandwidth, low latency backhaul, right, and that's where we can support them.
Exactly. So if you can get this FPSO that is 175 kilometers from shore to act as if it's just down the hall, it's better for everyone in terms of efficient communication and operation. So, Gordon, what is the best way for folks who want to know more to get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, people can get in touch with me direct. They can drop me an email. They can also contact me via LinkedIn. Or, of course, they can go to the Ceragon website, read more, and click on the Contact Us button. And we'd be happy to look at new opportunities and how we can support this industry to become more operationally efficient, better for the crew welfare. We're happy to have these discussions and look to support more and more energy customers and offshore customers. Get in touch.
Wonderful. That sounds like a great place to wrap it up. Gordon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jeremy.
And thanks to all of you for watching. I'm Jeremy Ladner, and this is the Backhaul Lounge.